Hello art students. Today we're going to learn how to use color to create the illusion of depth in a painting. This is also called atmospheric perspective. Atmospheric perspective refers to the effect the atmosphere has on the appearance of objects as they are viewed from a distance. As the distance increases, the contrast decreases and colors are less intense or saturated. So if we look at this example and the grass that's in the foreground here, the colors are way more saturated or intense. They're also a lot warmer. As we get into the middle ground where all those dark trees are, we see less detail because they're farther away and the colors become a little bit less intense. As we get into the mountain range, we see even less detail, and that helps us get the idea that they're very, very far away. So again, the farther away the objects are, the less intense the color and the less detail there is. And then those colors start to fade into the background, or in this instance, the sky, which is blue. So we see that mountain range beginning to kind of blur a little bit and fade into the background blue of the sky. Here I'm going to show you a watercolor interpretation of that photograph that I made, showing some different watercolor techniques and ways to show that atmospheric perspective. And now we're going to learn some different ways to create those effects by changing the intensity of a color. So on the far left, I have a blue that is straight out of the watercolor pan and is the most intense I can get that color to be. So it is very vibrant and it is at its full strength. So that is its intensity. It's incredibly intense. And there are several different ways that I can change the intensity of that color. The first method I can use is to dilute that color with water. And the more water I mix into that color, the less intense it will become. And this is a technique that we use in watercolor painting quite a bit. If we want to make something look softer, less intense, we simply mix a little bit more, or in some instances, a lot more water into that color. Another way that we can make a color less intense is by mixing it with gray, and that's also called creating a tone. So up here at the top, I have a gray that I've made by mixing black and white paint, and I am going to mix some of that gray into the blue paint to create a tone. And there are lots and lots of different tones that you can make of just one color by just changing the amount of gray you use, or the type of gray that you mix into it too. So if you mix a really dark gray, then your tone is going to be a lot different versus if you use a really, really pale gray. So that is a really great way to change the intensity and is one to think about, especially when you're painting a landscape. The final method I'm going to show you is to use a complementary color. A complementary color is the color opposite the color that you're working with on the color wheel. So the color opposite blue on the color wheel is orange. So I created an orange and now I've mixed some blue into it. And you can see that this has created quite a different version of this blue. In fact, it hardly looks blue at all. It's very, very different and way more subdued and way less intense than that blue all the way over on the left. So this could come in handy when you're creating your watercolor landscape, or any landscape for that matter, because it's a way to show that difference in intensity that happens when you're looking at something from far away. So over on the left, we have the most intense color we have, or the most intense hue of blue, and then things become less and less intense as we get over to the right.